is going on, you guys, and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, consider getting subscribed. I make videos just like this one every few weeks. In today's video, I'm going to be installing a HiBoost signal booster on my Toyota Tacoma. The purpose of having a product like this in remote areas, especially when camping, is so that you can boost your cell signal and allow yourself to potentially have better communication with loved ones back home, access the internet, have slightly better download speeds, maybe even better than slightly. And overall, just it's important to have a good sense of communication when we're out on the trail. And up until very recently, I never really had a problem with it, but I went on a few trips pretty much in the last month and was having definite issues in regards to staying connected with my wife back home and overall just using my phone for connectivity services. Naturally, after those two trips, I immediately got home, got online, and decided to start looking for a potential solution for having less than ideal connectivity when out at camp. I did a little bit of research, and after a few back and forths with HiBoost, I kind of figured that this HiBoost Travel 3.0 Explorer X was going to be the perfect solution for what I was looking for. It offers extended connectivity for both 3G and 4G, and then also extends to LTE and 5G, which is especially what I was looking to help boost in my category, as I typically am in range of, a 4G or LTE 5G tower. If you haven't heard of a HiBoost before, you've probably seen one a lot more times than you think, usually on Sprinter vans, but they're usually mounted up super high in a place that you're likely to get the most cell signal. And that's exactly what I'm setting out to do today. I'm going to be mounting this high up on the truck, as high as I can get it, up on the roof rack, and then routing it in through the cab and hopefully setting it up in a way that, again, as I do with many of my videos, is fairly OEM plus. Travel 3.0 Explorer X cell phone booster. Let's get into the video. Okay, so now that we got everything out of the box, I kind of want to go through things here in a stage process. So we have initial instructions with some miscellaneous hardware. Then we move on to the mounting solution. So we again have this pivot mount that I'll end up using on the roof rack. These are additional mounts that I probably won't be using. And then of course we have the, I guess call it whip, that's going to mount onto this so that it gives the antenna a little bit of flex. If you're ever to run into, a tree or anything on the trail, it's not going to snap off, it's actually going to bend. Moving on over here, we have the actual booster. Comes, like I said, in this nice little red rubberized material for now. And then of course right here we have this is the antenna. That's going to have to be double-sided taped somewhere inside the vehicle so that it actually can give signal to the cell phones or laptops or tablets inside the vehicle. This is going to initially, and then in this video, go into my 12 volt, but eventually I'll probably end up snipping this off and routing it into my switch controller so I can kind of toggle the HiBoost on and off that way. And then finally we have the antenna here. So this is kind of like the big bulbous part that goes on top. We have a antenna that's kind of a nice, really cool satin material, feels like aluminum. And then what's really cool is when you fold the antenna down, they give you this little mount here, so it actually gives you a little bit of cushion so that it provides a little bit extra stability. But that's pretty much everything that comes in the kit. Let's get to it. So typically I wouldn't recommend doing this part first, but I'm going to be feeding this coaxial cable through the antenna here because what I need to verify the antenna clearances from here to the max tracks, because this is where I kind of want to mount it, right along this side rail here. So if I mount the pivot here, it'll essentially pivot this way, which is exactly what I want. And then it'll be low enough down here under the roof line so that it won't create any sort of obstruction above the roof rails. You could set it on top and then it would kind of sit on top of the rack right here and then pivot up, but I want it to be down recessed below. So that's kind of why I'm starting with this section right here. So once you connect this part to the antenna, I guess, sheath, comes down here, super easy. And then there's one additional piece that hooks onto it that actually lets you move the cable through it. I don't think I can do it one-handed, but you kind of get the idea. Comes through here and then out the side so that this part can then mount onto, I believe, the whip and then onto this pivot mount. So I'm gonna put those all together. It's just gonna be hand threaded together, and then I'll show you what that looks like when we're done here in a sec. All right, quick update. I moved the MaxTrax back a little bit. I was initially, like I said, going to move it here, and I'm not doing that for a few reasons. I'm putting it right here because A, it can go directly into the channel here, and B, because this little bracket that holds it up, because of the way the roof is shaped, it wasn't going to correctly clip in. And even as this is set up here, it doesn't quite line up, but once you kind of pivot the antenna a little bit, this will click into place, and that'll be super sturdy, not going anywhere, no wiggle whatsoever. So I've decided to do that. I'm going to probably have to re-tighten the Sherpa Equipment Company mounts, and then I'm going to bolt this down, just 2 bolts. And I'm actually going to use the extra hardware from Sherpa Equipment Company as well that I have from the roof rack to mount that, as opposed to the proprietary mounts that they provided, because although they did provide hardware, which is super nice, I prefer to use the original Sherpa T-nuts and their hardware. It just kind of matches everything. But overall, I mean, from the stuff I showed you at the beginning and just the overall process, the longest thing that it's taken me has been deciding where I'm going to put this HiBoost antenna. Everything else is coming together super nicely. Here's a closer look at the install before taking care of the wiring, propped up on that little mount, and this is not going anywhere. It's like I'm pulling up pretty hard, but as you can see, it's that spring-loaded effect that's giving it the wiggle room. And here I just kind of can push down. I can do this one-handed. It's actually ideal, but you basically give away some of the pressure. So let's see if I pull this little mount out. There's less pressure and resistance built up. And now we're able to see exactly what that looks like. Looks pretty sick, looks pretty tactical, but obviously the idea is mainly to get better cell reception. And when you're done, climb back up here, click this down into place, and you're off. Obviously got to tuck that wire back here in a few minutes, but for the install on the exterior of the truck, that's pretty much all there is to it. All right, so we're kind of getting a few steps ahead here, but what's nice is HiBoost kind of thought ahead and figured that you would mount the control module potentially on the floor. So this is actually not 3M, this is actually Velcro. So they provide you with actual Velcro strips so that when you mount it onto the floor of a vehicle, it doesn't slide around, because this thing is kind of hefty. It's quite a little, it's got some weight to it, which is nice. But yeah, so I'm going to be mounting there, applying that Velcro, and then this long cable is going to feed from there underneath this crossbar. I mounted the MaxTrax again, and then over into the wire hider here, and then I'm going to pop it out right out of the firewall and mount it right here. The antenna then I'm going to mount on the opposite side, I believe. I know I've flip-flopped a few times here, but I believe the antenna, which you see right there on the floor, I'm going to be mounting on the side here. We got the antenna propped into place. I don't have the actual prop on there right now, but this is securely mounted. can extend that all the way. And then I have this neatly zip tied underneath. It's kind of come through here. Wire feeds out here. Zip tied to the Sherpa Grand Teton roof rack. Feeds down through the KC wire hider. And then I fed it through the cab. And this is what it looks like now. So I will remove the little red piece, and I'm going to be feeding this through this firewall tunnel here. And what that's going to allow me to do is run the cable to the opposite side, because I think I've decided I'm going to put that the HiBoost module itself on that side, just because I use this side for dog bowls and a bunch of other stuff. So it makes a lot more sense to put it over there. So yeah, that's where we're at so far. So let's see where we get next once I feed that wire through the other side. This through the firewall here, and I'm just gonna tuck this all the way in along here. And actually it's the perfect length. This is like max length, so I won't actually have to tuck anything away. And I think in this corner here, if you can see here, this little square is where I'm going to place the HiBoost controller. Flip it over, and I'm going to mount. You can actually see right here, there's these little sections that are for the Velcro, and then one right in the center, I think is what I'll end up doing. And then once I do that, all that's left to do is plug everything in. And then for this installation, as I mentioned, I'm just going to be plugging this into the 12 volt and testing it out that way. So let's get this thing buttoned up and we'll start testing. All right, so you'll see here, this is the power cable that I'm just kind of letting hang out here. And then this is, obviously you have a USB-A for charging and a on-off button. You'll be able to tell if this power unit, the HiBoost power unit, is on by seeing the illuminated blue light inside the USB-A port. I am going to have to get away and go to an area that I film sometimes. You guys might be familiar if you watch the channel. There's very little cell service there. So I'm gonna drive up there and test this out so you guys can see in real time. But you can see right there next to the cable, the power cable, that's the antenna. And the antenna I put right down here. Time will tell if I have to move it to a different place. But right now it's tied right back there. I've cleaned up everything but this power wire, which, to be honest, I don't know if I'm gonna run it all the time. I'll just try to pull it out, and you know, when I need service or signal, plug that bad boy in and we'll be good to go. So everything's kind of set up. Again, super easy installation. Things take a little longer when you're making a video, but overall the unit is in good condition, good quality, high quality metals, rubbers. Love that it has the Velcro on the bottom. And then of course, when we come up top, we have the antenna itself, which obviously is, I think it's pretty high quality. I do have it kind of like snapped into place as I had before, so I don't even know if I can pull that out one-handed. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right, we're all set up in here. And now what I'm going to do is, the vehicle is an accessory. I'm going to do a baseline speed test. Now I will say, while this is reading the download and upload speeds, I've done multiple tests like this in the past, I don't know, 30 minutes in different locations. And basically what I found is that the download speeds remain fairly unchanged. That might just be where I'm at. But you'll see here the upload speed when I'm not connected and the HiBoost is not set up are far lower. You know, I oftentimes have trouble connecting in my area to, you know, YouTube, things of that nature. So we're looking at a download megabits per second 64 and less than 1 for upload speeds. So I'm going to go ahead and tap the HiBoost. You'll notice that it's turned on by the illuminating light in there, and we'll go ahead and run it again. Like I said, baseline, from what I've been able to see, I get about 2 megabits per second or more on download speeds, and almost, gosh, I don't know, 24, maybe even 17 on the upload. So the upload is where, you see the most, how do I put this? The most benefits out of this. So slightly less on download speeds, as I just mentioned, but we're already 10xing our upload speed here on this baseline speed test. Let's see where we end up. All right, so there we are, 44.9 and 8.72. All right, just for argument's sake, I went ahead and kind of took some overall averages on my phone here. Overall average without the HiBoost connected was about 25.7 on the download speeds, megabits per second, and on upload, the average without the HiBoost connected was about 1.24. On the flip side, on average, the download megabits per second with the HiBoost on is 27.1, almost a 2 megabit per second increase is what we have with the HiBoost turned on. I don't know if that was redundant. Sorry about that. And on the upload, we 15x'd what we had for without the HiBoost connected, and that is 15.3 megabits per second. So it's definitely not nothing. And I think in a pinch, if you have very, very low cell reception, you should have pretty solid results with this. There we have it, you guys. So that was my thorough, detailed, step-by-step OEM Plus install of the HiBoost Travel 3.0 Explorer X cell phone booster. And I think this is going to be a great tool for anyone who's going off-roading, who just needs to have reception to stay in touch with family and friends, or someone who's doing some full-time overlanding that needs additional reception. And I think that is a product that is becoming extremely popular in the overland off-roading space. But this is a tear down. This is kind of more bare bones, raw, and that's kind of what I was going for. I really wanted to find something that fit the bill, 5G LTE service to edit videos on the go. Although that might be something that happens in the near future, who's to say. But overall, the install was really easy. The antenna looks and is able to be concealed nicely, looks good, and ran everything through the firewall as I've done a million times. If you missed that section and you want to see exactly how I fed that through the firewall, check out some of my other videos about the light setup or the switch panel setup. You'll find all the information in there. At any rate, hope you enjoyed this video. Huge shout out to HiBoost for sending out this product. It totally matches and fits the bill when it comes to my Toyota Tacoma, and I'm excited to put this to the test. You will likely see me using this HiBoost controller in future trail videos and future camping videos, which, like I said in the Zion video a few videos back, I plan to start making a lot more of. So if you're new here, consider getting subscribed, smash that like button, leave a comment down below. I make sure to get engaged with every single comment that gets left in my videos. And as always, enjoy the ride.